All right, hundreds of thousands of people will go to the nation's capital tomorrow for Donald Trump's inauguration. A CBS News poll shows nearly 60% believe the president-elect will bring change to Washington. However, 61% believe he will also divide the country. CBS News contributor Bob Schieffer has covered 13 inaugurations starting in 1965. He is on the National Mall with CBS News political director and Face the Nation moderator John Dickerson. Great to have both of you with us this morning. Good to see you.
Morning, Norm.
John, let me start with you. CBS News is reporting that Donald Trump is on track for one of the slowest confirmation timelines in modern history. Reports, too, about a national security team that hasn't coordinated. What are you hearing?
Well, talking to a Democrat last night, a Democratic senator, this senator said they're going to try and confirm as much of the national security team as possible because they want some people in there to balance out some of Donald Trump's exciting views, particularly on countries like Russia. So I think he's likely to get that team in place. And then the others, you know, it'll depend. The speed of the team coming into place is one thing, but the really interesting question is the distance between Donald Trump and what he says publicly and then what these cabinet heads are going to do and believe and actually put into place when they get into their jobs. And that is the more important question here at the dawn of the Trump administration.
Bob Schieffer, for example, suppose the defense minister in Russia or the defense minister in China wants to speak to the man who's running America's military this weekend. Who does he talk to?
Well, that's the question, and that's why there is so much anxiety in the foreign policy community, foreign policy establishment, as it is. I spent a lot of time with some foreign policy types this week, and to them, that is the thing that worries them the most, and that is no one really knows what to expect. They're very disturbed by all this tweeting that's going on, for example, for fear that someone in another capital, read that North Korea, might misinterpret what is said. They don't know whether to take that seriously or not. They don't know who at this point actually speaks for the president. This is a very unusual transition that we're going through here. And let's not forget, a big part of the reason for that is this took everyone by surprise. A lot of people were pleased with what happened. A lot of people were not pleased with what happened. But most people were surprised by the outcome of this election, including the people closest to Trump. I'm told that the day before the election, they were giving themselves a 20% chance of winning.
Well, and he made it clear, Bob Schieffer, that he's not going to give up tweeting. And I'm wondering what you're hearing, how this compares to the mood and expectations of past inaugurations that you have covered and that you've attended.
Well, there's a drinking game among the younger people in our Washington bureau that how long will it take old Bob to say, I've never seen anything like this in my life. So, okay, guys.
Drink up.
I must have said it 100 times.
Oh, Bob is saying that now?
It's very, very different.
So, and the interesting question, it seems to me, John, is that we don't really know how much of this is going to be a continuing part of the Trump administration.
This question of where the president stands and where his cabinet officials...
And the tweeting and using social media and violating what have been norms of the past.
Yeah, well, the changing of norms is one of the key and important questions of the Trump administration. And the Twitter can be used as a distraction. It is, I think what will end up, or what is likely to happen, is there's a lot on a president's plate, or there should be anyway, and creating distractions will become ever more burdensome as the administration goes on. There aren't enough hours in the day just to deal with the things in front of a president, let alone the distractions being created. And so my guess is that, and President Obama said this yesterday in his press conference, reality will start to impinge, and once it's pointed out to the president, the new president, that this is causing issues for secretaries of state and defense, that might limit the kind of tweeting that goes on.
Bob, may I just add one thing to that? You know, at the end of the Republican convention this summer, I said one of the few things that actually did come true. I said what we've learned from this convention is that Donald Trump is going to run in the general election as Donald Trump, and that's exactly what he did. He did not change anything. So I think at least in the beginning of this administration, we're going to see the same Trump that we came to know in the primaries, in the general election. I think that's the Donald Trump that'll be taking the office.
So far it's been working for
Governor
him.
Donald Trump.
It's been working for him, Bob Schieffer.
Bob, one of the things, too, in the past, when George W. Bush handed over things to President Obama, he said the next president deserves my silence. Yesterday, we saw President Obama in the White House briefing room draw some different red lines, saying that there would be some issues that would cause him to come back and speak on that issue. Obama's going to be less than 2 miles away, living in Washington. This is going to be very different than what we've seen.
Extremely different. And I think the president will take a little time off in the beginning, but we've not heard the last of Barack Obama. I think you're going to hear him speak out on issues when he thinks he needs to do that.
Yeah,
Not only that, the Democratic Party's got to start rebuilding and looking ahead.
I think the Democratic Party is in total tatters
right
now. I mean, if you were to try to sit down and make a list as who do we think now would be the nominee for the Democrats in 4 years, I don't think anybody knows the answer to that, John.
Right.
No, they don't. But the more Barack Obama speaks, the less stage there is for a new person to step up, which I think he's probably aware of. And secondarily, he knows, and the Democrats know, that it would be a gift to President Trump to have Barack Obama kibitzing from the side. What Donald Trump needs is an opponent and an enemy. And Barack Obama turning it into an old fight gets all of the partisans on Trump's side behind him rooting against Barack Obama. So I think that President Obama will be very careful, actually, about when he weighs in, knowing
I agree with that, John.
that dynamic exists.
I think he wants to remain silent for a while. I mean, he said
I do
to friends
too.
that he wants to be
And
quiet for a while.
he talked about being silent for a year. He sort of said it parenthetically, but that was an interesting remark.
Well, lots of questions. What we know is to be continued, and as Nora said, it's never boring, never dull. That has not
We're going to be
changed
busy, too.
from the beginning of this campaign. Bob Schieffer and John Dickerson, always good to see you both. CBS News will bring you all-day coverage of the president-elect's inauguration. It begins tomorrow morning, right here on CBS This Morning. We are heading down to Washington today.
What time are we on from?
From 7
7 a.m. till
till
1
on.
p.m.
Yeah.
or whenever.